Okay, so while folks are joining in, we'll talk a little bit about the agenda before we dig into it. But today we have some exciting news that is some that's out for everyone. For example, multi-image reference is out for users today to try, and we'll explore that, how to use it, how to get the most effective results. And there are some things that are in the midst of rolling out. So some of you might see them and some might not. For that, I'll jump into actually our kind of dev site that it has some experimental features just to show it, since not everyone will have it loaded on their production app. But we'll talk about things such as some new camera motion presets, some new kind of gen space structure elements, and it should be a good way to preview what's coming up and just talk about it a little bit before everyone gets a chance to explore them on their own. And maybe at the end too, we could talk a little bit about medics, the just some themes for the upcoming roadmap that could be an option, just to give people an insight in the kinds of stuff we're working on towards the end of the year. But can't promise anything specific, but we'll talk about like some areas of focus for us.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've learned is never to trust or never to promise
Yeah.
any specific date. There are some features that we've been really excited about that we've been hearing from the developers next week for the past month, uh, which is a problem because we're perfectionists and there are a lot of things that are ready. We just don't feel good enough with them. And once they're good enough for everybody to use and really get excited and get using, then of course they'll be out for everybody.
Yeah. One thing I think people will notice though already is we've been putting a big focus on, I think when a lot of people used LTX Studio in the beginning, they only used the storyboard. And we put so much effort into the generative spaces like the images and motion gen spaces. And even when I flip over to the dev tool later, you'll see there's been an increased focus on making these things connect really well. And so I really do like using kind of the new architecture just to make it easy to go between the different parts of our platform, like the storyboard, gen space, and timeline. So that's been a really cool like area of focus as a just a architecture point of view. Cool. All right. So we got some folks in attendance. We'll flip over to the platform and just start showing some elements here we want to cover. I'll be looking up here because I got the dual monitors going on, so I'm going to be staring up here probably for it. But let me share my screen. Give me a second. And I'm going to share with sound because we'll probably end up sharing some sound. Okay, cool. So first off, just to keep my own head straight, I got the production platform that everyone can use here in dark mode, and I will flip over to some new things on the dev mode. I've kept that in white so I can see where I'm at for each one. And then let me drag my zoom window down here.
Don't you
All
know
right.
dev mode has to be dark because light attracts all the bugs?
Fair. Let's swap it then. As I mean, I'm sure almost everyone knows this, but if you go here and you go to theme, you can do system, which picks up on, it what your Mac or your computer is on, whether it's light or dark mode internally, or you can manually set it. So I'll adjust this to light, and then I'll swap this one to dark. So we swapped it around. There we go. Easy peasy. I'm a dark mode guy. I'm not used to working in light mode, but all right. So everyone should be familiar with this space. We've got let me actually, my zoom window's in the middle here. Let me pull it over. And before I dig in, again, kind of normal rules of the road here. We don't have the chat enabled, but anyone at any time can drop in something for the Q&A. And between Medics and I, we'll keep an eye on it and try to answer the Q&A. Some of them will choose to answer live, and then some we'll just type quick responses to. And so we'll try to knock those out as soon as we can. But feel free to drop anything in the Q&A there as we go through. So this should look very familiar. We've got a few quick entryways into the platform, like a blank storyboard, the gen image space, the gen motion space. So I'm going to jump into the gen image space just to preview a few things. This is my personal favorite place to play. It's just so fun. And I want to point out already that we have a few updates here. So you might notice the sessions area. So if you're like me and you've generated just tons and tons of assets, it can get really laborious to sort through all of your assets on the side. And so here, for example, we've grouped them together. Like yesterday, I was working on a project I was working on a project with like a spaceman, and so you can see up here my sessions over here. I've got some other things going on that I was working on hours ago, and then some of them, there's a lot of projects going on. But one thing that's kind of cool is you can see all the prompts here on the right too. And so you can kind of see a history of all your prompts. You can delete and organize things more easily, but this way you can really quickly pick up a new session. And so here we can click new session, start something else out. But if you want to go back into something else you did, I can jump back into here. Like I can jump back into my older sessions back here. Like I was making a pretty fun one project I was working on just to play around new features. I was making a tortoise and a hare race, but I gave the tortoise a little old VW bug, and I gave the rabbit an F1 car, and of course the rabbit's car is going to break down in the race. But so I was playing around that session. You can see all of my prompts. I really love just the kind of animations and the layout here. But we'll just click a new session so I can show you a few things going on.
I'm just going to interject and tell you something that I think you haven't noticed, and I know that I definitely haven't noticed, so it means that other people haven't noticed. When you start a session, on the top left-hand side, you have session one, session two, session three. That's where you can rename it to actually give it a name that has a meaning for your project. So right
Oh,
now,
we
if
start
you,
session. I see, I see.
so
Yeah,
if
I
you
did
go
not know
over
that.
here and you scroll all
Yeah.
the way to the top, or you start one with fewer, or you have one with fewer generations already in it,
Mhm.
then at the top left corner, you'll see session, like say if you open session seven,
Hmm.
um, oh no, it has 51. So open session five, I see that it only has one generation. So you
Hmm.
see up to the top left-hand corner, you have session
Aha.
seven. That's exactly the right
Talk
thing.
about tips and tricks. I did not know that. So this is kind of an abstract rope breaking, so I'll say rope snapping. But yeah, I can rename. I did not know that. So new tip and trick discovered live. The fun thing about this platform is the blessing and the curse is we ship so much stuff that you have to constantly play around with it to relearn it. And while I'm in it, speaking of, there's a few small things before I even get into the multi-image reference. There's a few small things that people should still keep an eye on. For example, motion intensity is one of them. That's I think from the last webinar we didn't have that here, and there'll be some even cooler stuff that we'll show in the motion presets coming up. But that's a quick one here. As I mentioned before, these ones are really sticky, and so for example, if I generate something with audio on, these settings will keep staying there as I swap between assets and things. So pay attention to what these settings are, because for example, if you leave on like a high time setting, like a 30-second generation thing, that'll be your default for the next generation. So you might burn through credits. And then the audio on off gets people a lot, but those are meant to be sticky settings there. So, but yeah, that's a great one, Medics, the session rename. I like that. So let's do a new one. So again, I was making a project, and let's just hammer through a couple of prompts so we can start using the multi-image ref so we can show you. So I wanted like an English countryside, right? Um, so I'm prompting that, but then maybe I want some audience around it. So I can say with people around the road getting ready for a car race. So I started out with a countryside setting, but I wanted something with a bit more action to it. So with one more prompt, I've got something I can work with. And maybe I wanted to make my characters like a cartoon turtle. I'll say a friendly wise cartoon turtle. And maybe I want the cartoon turtle in a, old VW bug. So I can say yellow bug car. So here I've got some options for my scene where I'm going to host the race. I've got options for the turtles. Honestly, I don't really love it. I'll probably keep iterating on the turtle one. And then if I make the bug car, I can have the turtle driving in one of these cars. I'm going to do one more turtle session. If you notice, I clicked use parameters up here, and then I can do it. You can just easily redo a prompt. And okay, so one more. Oops, sorry about that. Okay. So let's see. So what I'll show now is using one of these turtle presets. Well, let's say this one here. And so I can have, a multi-image reference, which is a new feature. We showed a kind of a hack last time, but now we have a new feature where if you look at the tooltip, you can drag and drop multiple image references. I'll start talking about like when and where these work and how well it works with different things. I think the tooltip shows some good examples where personally I found it works best when you're really pulling an element from one image and an element from another image. It sometimes struggles if you're trying to say like, here are two artistic styles, merge them. That honestly doesn't always work as well. It might choose one style over the other. So these are really good for if you're choosing two elements. So here, for example, I'm choosing, this beat up Volkswagen Bug and my turtle. And so I can say a turtle driving this yellow VW Bug. Um, so here you can see I have my turtle, my bug as the multi-image reference, and you can swap them out at any time. Like I don't we love this turtle as much, but just to show an example. So now I can drag and drop. You can use this button iterate to refine the image, but I honestly just have a lot of fun just dragging and dropping like this. I really like the UX and animation there. And so here you can see I used this cartoon turtle here and the other one up here. So I got my slightly different ones based on the image reference. And it pulls in a little bit of the style. So if you noticed, this cartoon is a bit more tropical. And so these ones are a bit more tropical in the results. So it pulls elements and style, but my personal take is it works better pulling two different elements, like object one, object two. Let's do one more. So here I have the turtle. I like this, but I want the turtle driving in the English countryside and arriving at this race. And so I might pull in, let's say, this one. And so here you can notice really quickly we've now have like three image references because I just combined them and to get this turtle driving the car. And then now I'm like stacking on another one. So for me, when I'm building a project, I'm just constantly saying this plus this plus this, and I'm kind of daisy chaining my image references to get where I want to go. And you can work really fast that way. So here I'll say the cartoon turtle drives his yellow VW Bug to the start of the race in the English countryside. You don't need this much prompting, and I'll show you what I mean. Um, you can sometimes just say this plus this, really, but I'm kind of over prompting here just to make it easy for the computer. And I'll generate one more set of results too. So here, really quickly, in a few prompts, the multi-image thing works really well. Again, the gen space goes for variety. And if you want to get more like any certain thing, you can drill down and say, hey, more like this. But it's kind of built to give you a little variety. Like here, it kept the red car. Here, it didn't. And let's start to we'll put our rabbit in the red car. So I can say, um, you know, uh, um, a close up of the red car. All right, so yeah, here I'm, starting to get a few of my early scenes, building my references, and I think you'll know. By the way, I like this. It says English start for the start of the race in this banner here. You gotta love AI text generation. So yeah, now I have my bunny here. I might want a different bunny, but it lets us easily stack elements in a photo now. So. Honestly, I find this really amazing for building up my projects. And Medix, I don't know if you've seen this, but yeah, I think it's good for pulling in specific elements into your shot and like building them on top of each other. But we'll show a few examples of where it's tough to get working, like multiple styles, and then some where it works, but it might take a few more prompts. But this is a kind of the bread and butter use case, I think. Cool. All right. So you'll notice here in the bottom a few new things. So let's see. Let's pull this one. I'll iterate on this image. And then you might notice here we got some shot types here. So I think from when we last did this, these are probably new. So I don't think we referenced that before, and we'll show a few more in the dev panel. But for example, I can change my like a wide shot of this. So I'd say, a rabbit driving the red car. And so you can use this to kind of force the shot type you want. But again, honestly, you can use flux context to just get different views. So I can simply say like I can remove this and say none and say give me different views of this scene. So you can get some inspiration. Like I can use the shot type to force a type of shot, but you can use your text as well to get the shot type that you want. So you can use this for inspiration, for example. And you can always say like, give me this perspective for this shot, you know? So camera angle, these are new. We'll show a few more in the dev panel, but let's do this. Let's build our rabbit character here. So cartoon rabbit, and I'll say like I can't spell it, but I'll say mischievous cartoon rabbit there. Oops. Because he's looking too happy, right? We want him to be a little more mischievous. I spelled it wrong again, sorry. There you go. Weird. Even the spell check isn't working. It's so funny. Okay, so we have some options here. I'll say we got a few here, and I'll probably pick, let's see. And I'll actually say human-sized, sly, human-sized cartoon rabbit. Um, this guy looks pretty mean right there. Maybe we'll go with him. Maybe what else? This guy looks like he's up to no good. Let's do this one. I kind of like this style. So again, let's say we want to iterate on this image and we want to play around with the camera styles. So here we have an overhead shot, and I can say um, so I'm kind of forcing a pretty big iteration here on the style because here it says kind of gritty um, scene, almost like neon lighting. But we've pulled this character out, and um, we've got uh, we've got here like the character now in the English countryside, and then let's see, you can do like a low angle shot so I can see looking up at the rabbit in the field. So again, you can use both the shot type and the camera angle here, but we'll show a bit more. There's some more camera angles coming that are really fun, especially when it comes to motion. And so let's iterate on that. So let me go back up to our shot. We'll have the turtle driving here. So we're going to create a video out of this. So, like I said, you can drag and drop. You can also, if you click create video, it'll pull that image frame down. So I said create video. I didn't give an end frame. I'm using LTXV as the model, but you'll notice here we have the turbo, like a fast LTXV. We have 2, 3, and I think this was there last time, but just in case I didn't call it out, we have VO3 fast. And just pay attention to the settings here. So there's on the VO ones, there's 1080p and 720p settings here. The sound is default on usually. And then notice we also call out the cost of the model. So VO3 long wait extreme cost, VO2 high cost. So just want to call out those. But when I go to LTXV, we have a bit more options here. So you notice this popped up again. We have motion intensity. And then on the dev panel, we'll show you some upcoming camera angle things that are really fun with motion. So here I'll just say the VW car arrives. Or, um, oops, I misspelled road. There we go. Cool. And then, so this is without the camera angles. Then we'll flip over to the dev side and show you a few cool examples of what you can do with that. Just so we have the same reference, I'm going to download this one. So I'm going to click here and download that. We'll use that as a reference. And then I'll upload that to the dev panel so you can see some of the other motion angle presets. We'll do a little bit more on the motion and camera angle things before we go into some other elements of the multi-image ref, kind of like where it works, where it doesn't work. But just, I really do love the kind of the default animation. I've really been loving LTXV. It's so fast. And just to give an example, see how many iterations we've gotten here. Again, if I go to VO3, We do now have image reference for VO3. That I don't think that was there the last time. It was just text to video, and so I do want to call that out. That's been an improvement. But honestly, if you look at the wait time, like the quality we're getting and the diversity of shots we're getting just from LTXV, I find it's much easier to build my projects with that versus wait so long for all the VO3 shots, considering the cost as well. So I'm obviously biased, but I wanted to call that out that I've been using it and loving it a lot. Especially now in the dev panel, you'll see we've been able to interject new controls into LTXV that give you even more power because sometimes playing with VO3 seems a bit like rolling the dice in terms of what you get back.
I will say that we also added the image to video on the fast model, and I completely agree with you. I think also, I mean, mostly regarding cost issues, right? At the end of the day, we are making, or we aim to make big projects with lots of things going on. So VO3 has amazing results. I save it for the big shots, the close-ups of people, uh,
Yep.
just like where we like use the budget, quote unquote, in a smart way.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of, we'll try to pepper these in where it makes sense, but one element we've heard, loud and clear from people is just better views into kind of your budget and credits. And so that's an element we're working on near term, which is just giving you better views on how to monitor your usage and like better usage transparency. So that's been a pretty cool area that we've heard some feedback on and are looking into. But as a reminder, you can go up here and in your manage account. Right now, you have your computing seconds here, but this is an area we're looking at just making it easier for users to get an understanding of their usage, basically. But we try to give some tool tips in the platform, like, hey, this is long wait, extreme cost, but we're doing a lot more there coming out soon.
And while we're at the topic, another thing we heard loud and clear from the community on almost on a daily basis is the top-up situation.
Mm.
It's something that's being worked on. We cannot guarantee a timeline, but it's something that's being worked on hopefully in the very near future, but realistically in the near future.
Actually, in Medics, look at this. I mean, we waited all like we finally got the VO3 and VO3 fast. And honestly, so these up here are all LTXV and these are VO3, VO3 fast. I like the LTXV results better. Like it just cooler shots. The car's driving at the right speed here, cooler camera angle here. So it's funny. I like the LTXV shots more and they're much faster, much cheaper. So I just wanted to use that as an example. I know we've talked about the different models in a previous webinar, but I just wanted to say like when you build a long project, like I think I showed people I built this long like Cosmo project in the last one. I use LTXV for like everything just because it's I didn't want to wait for all the uh everything to load, So um side note too, we never really got back to this, but I do really love stacking on top like the sound effects. They do come naturally with video clips, but sometimes I just add them separately. Um, if you haven't seen last one, this is my old video of an astronaut that falls into a black hole and turns into a real person. So I didn't finish it, but he falls in, and then there's a dramatic moment where then he, after disappearing, comes to life. But I just love timing stuff up with the sound. He goes back to the ship and kind of intro I want to talk about camera angles. So for me, the certain camera angles can be really dramatic. Like my spaceman became real after he fell into the dark hole, the black hole. And there's some dramatic moments like when he first sees his crewmate, I wanted like this cool panning around. So if you notice this part, you'll see like the camera motion in a particular way. So check this part out. Um, really hard to do to get the right camera angle all the time, but we've made that easier in LTXV. that it should be it's rolled out to about half the users right now. So we typically only like talking about things when it's out, but since it's rolling out in the midst of it, I want to mention a little bit about camera motion. So that's not what you didn't see that in here, but I'm going to flip over to the dark panel dev site, and let's just start a new Gen workspace so I can show you something similar. We'll do a new session, and I'll upload that same image so we're working with the same reference. So let me just get this VW image we downloaded. Uses image ref. Oops, I want to do video. Image. Oops, sorry. Click this. There. Okay, so now I'll just do LTXV. I'll say the turtle drives down the road past the camera. Okay. So here I'm again same platform, but we're in the dev panel showing a few things that are rolled out to some users, not all. I've turned them on for myself so you can see them. You'll notice down here the panels are looking a little different. Here we have a much increased view of motion presets. And what I like about this UX is if you hover, you can see. So let me zoom in. You can see the type of camera shots we're talking about, like crane down, crane up, tuck right, tuck left. And these are, oops, I didn't mean to do that, sorry. These are pretty, let me zoom out. These are pretty helpful because, yeah, they're industry terms, but I'm not a, director of photography. I don't know what these things are. And so it's helpful to see all the different types of shots you can do. But I do like these kind of arc left, arc rights. And so I can give it direction and then add camera angles on top of it. And so it might do that by default. Like it kind of has a little bit of the arc right motion I already wanted. It kind of guessed about that, but you can force it also. And so I might just even say, instead of saying the turtle drives past, I can say the car is parked on the road as the camera pans around the car. So, you can change the motion direction with your words and then add the camera angle on top of it. So these are kind of, in beta, I guess, rolling out to 50% of the users, I think, medics right now. So as you see them, it'll be out to you soon if you don't have them, but these will give you a lot more ability to kind of direct the type of shots you want, in terms of like, whipping out or zooming in. And I think that's been really helpful. So here you can see we've got like that arc motion I really wanted. And that's been challenging for people. I've heard users talk about that kind of, panning around something is really difficult. And this way you can kind of push it towards where you want in a much more precise way.
And just to emphasize, I know you mentioned it, but this is only relevant for the LTXV model, right? This is
Yes.
something that is unique to it, um, which is, we're obviously not biased, but it's another reason to use LTXV.
Yeah, exactly. So here, if we, you can see these arc images around here, but if we flip over to VO, those disappear. So those are things that we can kind of inject into the results for LTXV, but we don't have them. And also notice that we still have the motion intensity over here, and other things, like the aspect ratio, sound. I actually don't think that sound was visible last month when we did the last webinar. And so, like I said, in the Cosmo thing here. I dropped in a bunch of sound effects, but I honestly have found that the default sounds are often quite good when you are trying to achieve something like an explosion or whatever. And the nice part is it's already lined up with the project then. So if you add a sound effect here, you can search for any sound effect um, here and you can add it as another track. We have multi-layers possible with sound effects. I think there's like 5 to 7 layers you can do, but you have to line it up. Whereas if you generate the video with the sound on by default, it's already taken care of. And so give that a shot. You can easily turn it on and off here. So let's just do that once real quick. So if I say instead of the cars parked, like this one, it's just again the car is parked here and it's zooming around. If I'm saying the car's sputtering, so I'll say the old VW car sputters down the road, kicking up dark a dark cloud of smoke, and then we'll turn the sound on, LTXV, and Um, we'll do like a whip out. I guess that's like kind of a challenging one. Um, but let's give it to it. Why not? Let's just try it. That's probably, let me see what else I would have tried. I'd probably just do like a, oh, we should do a focus swap because those are kind of fun, but um, I'll just do like a handheld one so it kind of gives it like a lower production quality because that meant I want to show the cars like sputtering. So here the sound is on, and then when you get it, I'll show you where you can kind of toggle that off and on just during the preview, but it's now in the video file itself. Let's let these load. Yeah, and if funny enough, when we talk about VO3, in the times when I've used it, I found myself working in multiple windows just because I'll have a window where I'm just letting VO3 generate because it takes so long. But usually, if you use Turbo, it's fast enough. So I'll do one with Turbo. That's fast enough to where it won't even kick you out of your current process. You can kind of just be iterating, and it's quick enough to where you don't have to like navigate to multiple windows. So the Turbo will probably load at the same time as the LTXV. I did give it a challenging one with the audio and the whip out, so we'll see how it does. So cool. We got the smoke. Um, and let's see. I kind of like this one actually. I like that a lot, so I might use that for my project. This is the handheld one. If you can see the things up here, and then we've handheld on this one too. But let's do this one, and then let's turn the sound on. So that's nice. It actually I should do a longer one. Let me do. I'll do crane up, and then I'll do a longer second one because it's more fun with longer sound. And we'll do turbo. So it's again a little lower quality but faster. Do sound previews here or here. Let's see here. And then a note, if you're using the audio, let's go back to this. So if I have a sound effect here, you can change the volume in the mixer on these in your timeline. So you can have your default track louder and your different sound effects, you know, less loud. So it won't necessarily disrupt your project, but it can still be helpful to have attached to your video. So let's let these load, and then we'll give it one more second. But yeah, while we're waiting, please, if you try these out and you have feedback since they're rolling out, go into Discord and let us know your feedback. So here, remember we have the crane up effect. So we have all the elements here. We've got the craning up at the end. That's kind of what I wanted. Like it's like seeing the turtle come into the race and sputtering in his old car, and it kind of cranes up and it's maybe ready for a transition. I don't love the sound on that one though. So here's another crane up. It's like on fire. It's too much smoke. But it is getting the crane up effect. So you can see it's really good. This one's pretty wild too. You can see it's getting the crane up, which is the important part that we told it for the camera motion. It's getting the smoke. I actually really like this video. I just don't like the sound. So I'd probably just do like more like this and just do another one. Cool. So if you do need to edit audio on and off here, this thing here is just for the preview. That's just the preview. That's not actually editing it. And then you can, I've not been upscaling anything just to make things faster, but it should know that you can upscale both images and video. All right, right on. So,
Good.
before, yeah, go ahead, Medix. Before I go into just one other thing on architecture, anything you want to add on like camera motion?
No, I just wanted to emphasize that you really should not just that you can, but you really should enhance or upscale your photos before you add the motion.
Yeah. That's a great point. I always forget to do that on the webinars because I'm kind of optimizing for speed to keep people's attention. But that's a really good point. Some of our teammates when they're demoing for clients, they're always really sure to do that just because you'll get such better results. Here, I'm kind of optimizing for the live element of the webinar, so we're optimizing for your attention, not the quality in a way. All right, cool. So one other thing while we're in uh, this space. We want to talk about like we just referencing something, but basically saying, we're looking at collecting all of your work. Pardon all my random unfinished projects. Again, this is a testing panel, but we're looking at collecting all of your work into projects with your team. And one thing we've heard about is like when you're generating assets, maybe you're collaborating with someone, having a workspace where that's a shared workspace for your motion, storyboard, your image generation and motion generation, your storyboard and timeline. And so we are looking at collecting these things into projects for you all out there. So you can collaborate together. That's not out yet, but if you notice when I flipped to here on the dev panel, if it looked different, that's kind of one of the underlying reasons that it's something I'm testing out over here and the team is looking at.
I will add to that specifically that one of the things that also that this means is that another complaint we heard from the community, which is local storage, meaning that if you work on one device and then you want to work on another device, that should be solved. Not 100%, but this is the plan as of now.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. If you noticed that you've been generating on different devices, you might lose. Well, you don't lose, but you have different generation histories. A cool thing about bringing the workspaces into different projects is that you can have the generations linked to that project and living there, and so it will persist across devices. And one other thing, again, we don't want to dig too much into here since it's not released. But having a dedicated gen space, I have different sessions here, but a dedicated gen space to the project and your timeline, something you can collaborate on. We are looking at even better ways of pulling together these things. Like one thing I love, I've been editing everything in the gen space. So, for example, being able to quickly select different images and pieces of motion and saying, "Hey, let's use this one for the timeline." I really like that workflow. So, as I mentioned earlier, we're looking at ways to more easily bridge together the gen space with your timeline and make or gen space with your storyboard to make it really easy for you to go back and forth between all those things. So more to come soon. Probably in the next webinar, we'll talk a little bit about more about like structure and architecture of the platform. On it, maybe part of it is honestly the gen space itself has been so highly utilized that it's really taken a lot of our focus to get all the features out that everyone's asked for. And now we're working on bringing them into like a lot of harmony together so you can really easily, pop between the different parts of the platform. All right. Let's see. I think unless there's any, I haven't kept my eye on the questions, but unless there's any questions, I think I could show one more thing about like, where I'd use the multi-image ref, where not, but it's kind of a minor point. Unless there's any questions on stuff folks want to see.
There isn't, but this is a great chance to call all of you out. If you have any
Yeah.
question, feel free to send it over and we'll do our best to cover it either live or answer it either now or in a later date.
Yeah. So I'll pull together some random things like let me think. I think sometimes I'll take things that don't work together. For example, like uh a polka dot. So as I talked about with multi-reference, just to give, oh, I still have remember the sticky settings down here. They had a low angle on that because that's what I asked for. So I'm just going to get two random examples of art. So a so sometimes if you're trying to bridge together two styles, I'm just doing this for illustrative purposes only. It will sometimes choose one style over the other. It doesn't merge them. So when you're using multi-ref, I don't use it often for st merging style. Maybe let me do something else. Let me do an impression painting. So let's grab like this style here as something more abstract, and then mm, let's do a field. So we're getting just two different styles here. Um, it's okay, but I was just trying to I'm not working too hard on the prompt. I'm just trying to get two different things. So if I pull one image here of this style, and one image here of this style. I have not been using the let's see, a stream of painting. So I have not been using multi-reference in this way. I just wanted to call it out. And in fact, I'd use the style reference thing in the bottom right. But if you're trying to use it, this might work. It works pretty well. Okay, not great though. So okay, here, so you can notice it kind of it is merging the two styles here. Like it has this abstract thing here that kind of looks like flowers, and this thing that's a field, and it's kind of interjecting these two styles here. But often it'll choose one over the other. So if you noticed here, it just chose this style on the right, and here it tried to merge them. Again, I've mostly been using this when I'm trying to merge two elements, not two styles. We do have style reference down here in the bottom. And so normally I'd get a photo and apply a style reference. And then when you apply a style reference, you can then kind of dial up and down the style and choose how much strength you want to apply to it. Multi-reference is best for things like this. Like if you say, let's see, a fancy watch on one hand, we'll say a rugged, man's hand. Um, and so if I'm applying two style or two elements, like um, let's say like this watch, and are we able to do a tattooed hand so you can see? One second. Uh,
You had to give AI the task of creating hands.
Yeah, right. That's the hardest thing. For it's the Turing test. How many fingers am I holding up? And with small tattoos on the sleeve. I'm purposely putting it through its paces. So, okay, I've used multi-ref when I'm doing something like this. So this hand, and then this watch. And so I can say, a man on the street with a white watch. Watch. So I find it good for combining elements in style reference, or sorry, elements, not style reference. And if you want to apply a style reference, so here we've got the man with the tattoos here. The we've got the consistency of the anchor tattoo thing here and the watch we wanted. And so that's where I'd use style reference. That's where I'd use multi-image reference. If you want style reference, you can always take something like this, and then or you can always apply a style reference this way and kind of adjust the strength. But really, I would use this for kind of merging elements versus the styles because it tends to choose one or the other, and so it's really good for elements, I'd say. So maybe find an image with the style you already want, and then just drop an element into it. So um, like you could find you drop a single element into an existing style is what I'd say. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, have fun. So I'd say have fun like daisy chaining things together. You can keep adding new elements onto this to keep building all the elements that you need, and that you can get like really consistent scenes and characters and props and products this way. You can build them on top of each other. And definitely explore the new camera angles and when it's rolled out to you, enjoy the kind of motion presets. Those are really fun to work with. But as always, give us feedback. These we play around with them and roll them out, but give us feedback as to how you like it. And if don't forget again, like the from the style point of view, you have these additional tools here. We focused a lot on image references, but I tend to use those more for like object programming versus the style of the image always. Cool. Yeah, I think that's it. Unless you have anything else, Medics.
We have a couple of things. So first of all, a great question by Mariana on basically Mariana is asking, is there a way to place a character I've created into a room I've also designed? So I think we've touched upon it in the previous webinar. Basically, what I would recommend to do, and let me know if you have a different method,
Hmm.
is to add the place you designed, the location into the gen space, add a character there, and then put it through into the storyboard and just swap the character with your trained actor. We are working, and this is something that we said about our roadmap. One of the things that we are working on, again, I'm afraid I can't give any details on when, is the ability to tag locations and objects just as you would actors,
Mhm.
which would solve exactly this problem. Right now, I don't know exactly when it will be out. Obviously, we're working to get it out as fast as we can. Another thing that I know that the community has been asking a lot is regarding audio and voices. So we are going to be changing our audio provider or the talking people, basically. Phrase it however you will. There is no exact timeline as to when the change will happen, but it will happen before the end of the year, that is for sure. Hopefully, it will be an improvement. Hopefully, you'll all love it. Can't guarantee, but again, we're open to feedback and we're continuously looking into the different things that you want and the different things that are out there by various partners. And we integrate as much as we can into our platform so that everybody can get the best results of their film or project or ad or whatever.
hmm Also, in the question on creating characters, I found it really helpful to start in the gen space here to get inspiration. So, for example, we'll just take this character and say, give me different shots of this man, but give him white hair. I don't know. I'm just changing his appearance. So you can build characters here with the kind of context, flux context, prompting. And once you find a character you like, you can say, just give me different angles of them. So I'm making different characters here, but I could say, give me different shots of this man in different locations with different emotions. So remember, when you're training an actor, you can upload, like a dozen images. I often use this to get the bank of images that I then train the actor with. So here, uh, did I use this one? Yeah, I think I used this one. So here, we might get a character with different emotions and things, but you can design someone and get just lots of different perspectives on them. Like that's how I've built a lot of my characters. So you can use that to kind of build a character, and then same thing with the room. So I could say, show me a warehouse in Brooklyn, and then you can use that to get different I'll say inside picture of inside of warehouse in Brooklyn. So you can use this also for scenes. And over time, like a theme is we are making it easy for you to kind of put in all of your references in the, memory, quote unquote, of this platform. But if you like a certain thing, like, cool, I really like this one, I can say, show me different angles of this space. So I use that both to build characters, and I also use that to get different shots of my scene, because then you could use multi-image reference and put, this product in this scene or this person in this scene. So if you have a bank of different angles, you can use that to put the character there. So let's do one last one. So I could say, um put put this man inside this room. So that's just a quick way of, sta daisy chaining and stacking the references on top of each other. So we've got different angles of our setting now. We've got different shots of the guy. I didn't train this actor, and so it's not like the best. I'm just kind of doing this quickly. But here, we've got our actor, not trained, but actor in the side of this scene. So that's one way to kind of get around what you were talking about in terms of we haven't necessarily trained the model and tagged him, but you can quickly put someone in any context you want. Cool. All right. Well, stay tuned. The team is hard at work. There's lots of cool stuff coming around the corner. Thank you all for the patience for this as always. And we'll be putting this on YouTube so you can rewatch any part of it. And then one last good call out is just going to Discord so you can see the latest from the community, latest from us in terms of chatting about what's coming out and coming around the corner. But yeah, see us in Discord or give us a shout as you play around with these tools and let us know what you think.
And one last thing before everybody goes. So we just wrapped up our Beyond the Prompt competition, which was amazing. We're not going to tell you who won yet. You'd have to watch the festival for this. But if you didn't win, that's okay. We have another competition coming up with a collaboration with 11 Labs called the Chroma Awards. And videos that you've made for the competition for Beyond the Prompt are eligible to be uploaded for Chroma. And as far as I know, in Chroma, there's almost no limit to the amount of creations you can have or the amount of submissions. I think it might be one per category, but there are a lot of categories for you to try your hand in. So go ahead, create, show us what you got, as they say in Rick and Morty. And really, I mean, if there's one thing I've learned from the community is that it has a huge creative muscle to flex, and I'm be really excited to see one of our very own succeed and win at Chroma.
Hmm. Agreed. Well, yeah, we're excited to see what you create. And thanks for your participation in the last one. And keep letting us know. Like we get so much inspiration from all of you and how you use it. So give us a shout as you're pushing the boundaries of what you can do. I think
And
you
if
learn the
you
most. Yeah, when you are working on these competitions, you learn the most because you're really, pushing for a vision, and that's where we hear what we need from you all.
and if you're not on our Discord, come and join us. We'd love for you to be part of the community. Um, And yes, to the question that just came in from Johnston, it will be judged by a separate panel. I will have one judge in the whole panel. There's a lot broader panel of judges. So even if you didn't win one, you could still win the other. They have absolutely no effect on one another. Any more questions before we wrap this up? Speak now or forever hold your tongue.
Cool. I think we're good. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you all. It's a pleasure. We'll see you on the internet.